Hi, I'm George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday Mornings. Monday Morning is moving forward with more and more diverse type of programs or Monday morning sessions. Bart Baker, of course, is our probably our most prolific speaker, presenter, and so forth. He's the agency has his agency in Malibu, California. It's a very interesting story, and I wanted to know how this thing got started. What would you do? What were you if you were a small agency and so forth? We talked about. So he said, "Well, let me show you what I do in one of my seminars here. This is on funding growth." And I looked at that and I thought, well, boy, that is just going to be ideal for new agents and for people who are in the agency who are going to split out with other agencies, or for there's 100 reasons it is. So let's move it forward. So the subject, if we can move it up to the next one, is funding growth, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Let me tell you though about Bart just for a minute. I'm glad. I want to show you. There his picture. He's very successful. He's one of the top farmers agents in the country. He's on their national council, and I could go on and on about that sort of thing. But it's fascinating agency that he's built in Malibu. He wrote. I got to read his breakthrough insurance agency, and this is the third or fourth of our presentations on that book alone. And if you don't get that book, I'm going to I'm going to be mad, because you're going to love that book and you get it. And the other one is If an Elephant Sits on You, Are You Covered? And Bart's going to be using that one in something called Look and Listen, not today, but later on, which we're going to bring you, which is, you'll find out, it's a great explanation of each of the basic coverages that you can put on your website if you'd like. He's been doing a lot of speaking and training these days. I had one a week or two ago, and it was just huge. And he's getting people from all over the country. He does that, I think, for kicks. He gets a little bit tired. You get tired, Bart, of being in your agency, and is that why you want to be the speaker and the trainer?
Hey, well, it's always fun to do something different. And I think, George, after you're doing something for close to 30 years now, which is how long I've owned my agency for, it's, I love it, but it's always nice to do a little something different too, for sure.
Well, I think so too, and that's the way I am too with this. So you started. But let's talk about your basic agency. How did you get started? I always wonder, what do you do? If I were going to start an agency today, I wouldn't really know where to go, what to do.
Sure. Well, I think that's a great question, George, and it leads in really quite well to the topic of the conversation today, is that when my wife and I started the agency, we really started from zero. We had one policy, and we just built it, one after another. And what we found is pretty quickly we got to the point where we weren't able to do anything further than the two of us could accomplish. We had kids, and my wife was busy with that, with me helping, and we had the agency, and we realized that we weren't going to be able to take it to the next level without getting some help with growth, and getting some more people in there to help us, and larger office. And what this story is really about here, George, is we didn't have a silver spoon, or a rich mom or dad to to help us out. We were it, and so we had to figure out what could we possibly do to be able to cover our basis, and to be able to fund the growth of the agency. So the plan that I'm going to be sharing with you and your listeners today is we call funding growth. And you could look at it and see that this is a really simple program. And I'll be the first to agree with you. It's really simple, but I've taught this to literally hundreds, if not thousands, of agents up to this point, and I'm always surprised how many people say that is such a simple program that I could implement tomorrow. And I get comments usually 2 to 3 months afterwards telling me that we have hired our latest employee using your formula. And so that never ceases to amaze me. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is just get right onto the program.
Go for it. Go for it. I must be very satisfying for you too in the process, isn't it, to hear this from guys and gals?
Oh my gosh. I mean, working for money, and doing things like that is, it's good, of course, but there's tremendous satisfaction in just helping people in any way, and you know that. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of people that that you reach out to. What are you up to now, George? 100,000 agents?
Yes, more than 100,000 every week. Hey, you know, the other thing I want you to make sure we tell them there, which I didn't tell them before when I was saying who you were, is that you were a fireman when you started all this. You've been a I mean, you were a fireman for how many years? I don't know.
I was. So I was a fireman with the Los Angeles County Fire Department, which was absolutely a terrific job, great camaraderie, absolutely great. However, the downside of that is that you're dependent upon the latest union negotiation in order to get a raise. And if you were lucky, you'd get a 4% raise. If you wanted to make any more money after that, you had to work overtime. And the shifts were 24 hours, and so if you worked in overtime, you could find yourself working, like 70 plus hours straight in a row. And I had kids and a family. I said, I'm done. I just can't do that anymore. So I was, searching for opportunity, and I stumbled across, the insurance business, and that's another story, which I'd love to share
later on that one, but that was interesting to me.
Sure, but so the program we're talking about today is funding growth. Is when my wife and I started this business, we did absolutely everything ourselves. And for a while there, I was a fireman on the days I was at the station, and then my off days I was in the agency, and my wife was at the agency when I was at the fire station, and then when I was there, she was with the kids. So it was just like nothing but work. 24 hours a day, and those were very, very stressful times. They were kind of exhilarating because we were getting into something new, but there was no way that I got into this business just to do paperwork. It was driving me absolutely crazy. So what we needed to get, obviously, was somebody to help with the business. So when we could possibly afford it, we hired our first CSR to be able to just process the paperwork. So when I would have normally taken a stack of paperwork to the station with me the following day, and at the end of the day after dinner, we typically had a couple hours to ourselves, and as long as we didn't have a call, and I would do do paperwork until it was time to go back to the office the following morning. And it was crazy. It was stressful. So when we got that first CSR, we were actually, I was actually able to hand off the paperwork to this person and say, issue this policy, make these changes, do all of this administrative type stuff that I didn't want to do. So with that CSR in place, it changed my life. It was absolute freedom, because I was able to focus now on the things that I like doing, which was in essence, being belly to belly with the customer, selling policies. And George, I'm telling you, I just felt like I was this free guy living the life of my dreams now. And it was absolutely incredible. It was like, we were really on our way. And the byproduct of that, George, is that our production took off like a rocket, because I was able to focus on those income-producing activities.
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question here, right there. Just leave it there. That's fine. Did you, when you were still in the fire station, did you write the insurance for those guys in the fire station with you?
Yeah, it's interesting is that I never wanted to be viewed as, oh, watch out, here comes Bart, the insurance guy. Yeah.
Right.
He's going to try to tell you something. So I went out of my way to never bring it up. They knew what I did, but I never ever brought it up. And after a while, what they would do is they would bring me their renewals when they would come up, and say, "Listen, I was, if you don't mind, can you just take a look at this? Give me what your thoughts are." And I tell them, I'd say, yes, I would do this and I would do that, and then pretty soon they just say, would you mind, if it's not too much trouble, would you mind giving me a quote of what you would do, because I like the ideas that you're coming up with. I go, sure, fine, no problem. So what's gratifying to me, George, is that I've been retired now since 2003, and I still have an awful lot of friends of mine. We're back in those days, still with the agency. We're great friends, and they're with me because they want to be. And I never try to sell anybody, and I still don't take that approach. We don't sell anybody. We just give advice. And if you want to take it, that's fine. And I think people like that way of doing business.
Beautiful.
So George, what this slide is saying here is that whether you're new, if you've been around forever, you're going to break through that one-man plateau pretty quickly. Or let me rephrase that another way. You better break through that one-man plateau pretty quickly. Otherwise, you're just going to stagnate, and your income's not going to go anywhere, and you're just not going to go far in the business. But so what's required in this case is obviously, to bring on additional staff as needed. And the number one question I get from people when I'm doing my workshops is, I don't have the money to add additional staff onto the books.
Right.
And they say that that's their challenge. And they ask me a lot of times too, should I get a loan? Should I put it on my credit card? Line of credit on my house? How should I fund, to pay for this new person? So, George, I believe that debt is evil and that debt weighs tons, and it is definitely not something that is going to help you in the long run. So if there's any way possible to avoid debt, I avoid it. So there is a way to fund growth, and we're going to show that now. And it's just, in our business, if you're trying just to cover your basic expenses for yourself, your family, and a nice lifestyle, nothing crazy, but nice, you can do that on your own effort without having anybody to help and assist you with, paperwork and everything else. I've just seen it. I've done it firsthand. I see it over and over again. However, if you want to have much more in the way of income, you're going to need some additional help. And so to do that, you have to, hire other folks to help you out. So
yeah, right.
Right. So you need a plan. And so the plan is this. It's a 3-step process. And you just need to identify the position that you're looking for. And typically, in the beginning, it will be what is known in the industry as a CSR. However, if you've read the Breakthrough Insurance Agency or have listened to some other things that I've done with you, we have that system of maximizers, multipliers, and measurement. So it would be a maximizer that you would hire. But a lot of folks, if you're not familiar with that language yet, it would be a CSR. So you identify the position, you draw a line in the sand as far as your expenses go. And so this is the expenses for your personal expenses, you and the family, and the expenses for your business. And then you just draw a line in the sand and say any dollar that comes in after this dollar amount that you set, that goes into the savings account for the new hire. And you just open up you have to have a separate account, and most people nowadays are on automatic deposit from the different carriers that pay our commissions. And so whatever bank you have, end of the month, you just take that excess money, you put it into the savings account, and you just let that start going. So the plan here, just to to finish it up, is that you budget and you figure out how much you need per month for your personal and business expenses. You add it together so that you know what your nut is, and you start saving. So it kind of looks like this, George. Dollar comes in, pays your expenses. The balance after your expenses goes to the monthly savings account. And here's the key now. You want to save 3 months of salary for that position that you're looking to hire. And then as soon as you have 3 months set up, you hire that position. And now you stop saving. And instead of putting that excess money that you were, making and accumulating, you use that now to pay for the salary of this new person instead of going into the savings account. And then if you need to, only if you need to, you could augment from the savings account to make up the difference.
Got it.
So what I have found is by doing it this way, the person that you bring on typically brings so much value, allowing you to free up your time to do those income producing activities that you typically never have to go into that savings account to augment. Okay?
I hear you.
So here's the plan kind of in writing. So this first page is blank. So what is called the next one here? So here's, George, this is just an example. So let's say that the person that you're looking to hire costs $3,000 a month for a salary.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that the cushion that you want to build and accumulate is $9,000. 3 times 3, and that and let's assume that your total current monthly expenses are $12,000, and you are going to then, actually this was written a little different here. Your cushion that you want to save is $9,000, but it just so happens in this scenario that your expenses are also $9,000. So there's a $3,000 difference. Mm-hmm. So you're saving, in this case, $3,000 a month, and you would take 3 months, obviously, to save up the $9,000, and then you are ready to go out and hire that position. And once you have the 90 days worth of salary saved up, it is dramatically less stressful, in your life, in the life of the agency, that if you have a slow week or even if you have a slow month, that you don't have to worry about it. There's money in the bank to be able to, to be able to pay for that, and it's a different way to come from. And also, knowing how hard it was to save up the money, you just pay a little bit extra, time and attention on who the person is, and for the the training that they get, and all of the above. And the majority of the time, George, I found, is that you do not have to tap into that savings account to pay for the new hire. I mean, sure, you do a little bit, but if you get a halfway decent job on the hire, they're gonna pay for themselves quickly.
All right, that's the first one. And what about you? How are you going to take care of you? How are you going to?
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. So as I said, you rarely have to dip into the savings account, and the stress level dramatically reduced by taking this approach. So as soon as you, and this is where it's going to help with your significant other, is that as soon as you hire this new person and you are able to bring them into the fold, so to speak, and that your expenses are being handled and they have been assimilated into the agency, it's time to give yourself a raise. So you are going to give yourself a raise of, what we've done consistently is we give ourselves a raise of about 10 to 20%, and there's really no reason why you can't do that, more than twice a year. So you could give yourself a raise of 40% a year, just by having that discipline to live within this budget, put the excess money into an account, hire the person that's going to help take your agency to the next level. They come in, they get assimilated, they get comfortable, the income in the agency increases, you give yourself a raise, but you still live within that budget, but now the budget is higher. So it just takes a little bit of discipline, but it will pay off, George, like nobody's business. So it just keeps on going and going.
Rinse and repeat. I love that title.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've heard that forever. So George, in our agency, we have 17 people now. That's including my wife and I, and we have just hired for a new department where we are funding the maximizer and the multiplier of that department, and we have filled every single one of our positions by taking and using this system. It works easily. It has never let me down in close to 30 years, and it that's all I can really say is that it works, but it's tough if you're not used to to working like this to begin with. But it can it never stops.
The big key, Bart, is I think early on when you said we start saving, we all have our problems with that. I know I always have all my life to
Mhm.
put this aside so you can do this. And I just, that first decision is the big one, I think.
It is. It is absolutely, because of course you're going to have a lot of different savings accounts, and that's why I say that when you open up this account for your, for your salary, for the, for the payroll account, of course we need a rainy day account, and we need all of those, types of things so that you don't have to go and rob, and rob that other account. But but I strongly recommend that as soon as you're able to, and you stay within that mindset of living within that budget that you have set for yourself, then we went a step further and we set aside a 2-month operational account, which just means it's just all of the expenses for the agency, the rent, all of the salary, every single expense, so that if for whatever reason we did not receive any income whatsoever for 60 days, we'd
Hmm.
still be able to, keep everything going. And what I found from that, George, is it's just peace of mind is what that
Yeah,
provided.
right.
Just reduced, the stress level dramatically. And, the bottom of the slide says that there's never anything wrong with saving more than you need. And, isn't that the God's honest truth?
No, it's you said a month. I mean, 2 months. I've heard other people talk about that too. But well, I've got a month ahead of. I think 2 months is probably a pretty good minimum there. Maybe even 3 months if you could. To just
Sure.
yeah, peace of mind. I think is what you said, and that's what I like too. I need. Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course we save for retirement and we save for all of these other types of things,
Right.
but it's just not having that money in the account that's just allocated towards the agency. You don't really touch it. It's just there. It's just a really good, feeling, to have that. So I started off saying that I've taught this system to, hundreds, if not thousands of people, and it is one that people look at it and they say, what's interesting about that, Bart, is that what you're saying, this is how our family runs our household. If we're
Mhm.
looking to buy a car or an appliance or whatever it is, we save up and we get it. We don't, like to use credit cards and things. And this one gentleman told me recently, he said, I'm amazed that I've never thought of using that system for my business. It's just, I don't understand why. I use it for my home. I use it for my personal life. Why wouldn't it apply towards the business? And the
Mhm.
answer is, of course, it does. So, so let's see what else we have here. So when I went, George, from doing everything myself, which is, to where I am now, which is, just taking care of the machine, that I've got people that are running the whole thing. Um, it's such a game changer in lifestyle to have really great, confident people in the right positions that you trust, where you can now look at the activities that you're doing, and focus just on growing the agency rather than being so down into the detail, nitty gritty, of the day to day.
Mhm.
And if I were to give, and you said it, George, when we first started off, this is really geared more towards, new people in the business, or somebody that might have been around for a while but that has plateaued and is trying to, restart their business and try to, get them back, and, heading towards the big growth mode again. And I just wish I did it. I wish I did it sooner. I wish that I hired people to help me, faster than I did, because I know that I'd be, further along than I am today.
Well, I think you're doing pretty darn well. I don't think you should beat on yourself about that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plan is really the thing. That's
Well,
it.
yeah, right. And that's all this is. This is just the plan. You just put it in writing. You get clear. You talk to your significant other and say, look, we're going to draw a line in the sand, and it's going to be a little bit more, austere. Perhaps we're going to, budget a little more than maybe we're used to. But the payoff, in a very short period of time, is going to be absolutely huge. So I put together this little, recap
Hmm.
screen that was just saying is that, when we pass off the paperwork, that's another way of saying that, that when we allow ourselves to focus on those activities that create income, which is meeting with people belly to belly, building relationships, and not doing paperwork, it is the key to growth. It is what's going to allow your agency to take off. However, you need a plan, and the plan, thank God, is incredibly simple. It's identify the position, save the salary, hire them, and so on, and then you assimilate that person as soon as they're in there. They're smooth. You're able to get additional income going again. Then you just hire that next person for potentially the next department or another CSR maximizer type, whatever that is, and it will create a level of success that has only been dreamed of before, because you're going to be able to utilize the abilities and efforts of other people. And in our business, you could only go so far yourself. But when we have other folks to support us, everything changes.
Well, you're so right, and I think this is the message here is terrific for anybody. I mean, if you've got kids, if you've got grandkids, or whatever coming up and everything, let them listen to this. It's just the idea of just having a plan, putting the money aside, not taking your more money out of it until you can afford it. I mean, it's just really good. It's just good common sense. A lot of this, well, again, came through from the Breakthrough Agency book. There's Bart's contact. You can call him at any time, or he's happy. He does respond. And with those books down there, you see that, the Breakthrough Insurance Agency and the If an Elephant Sits on You, Are You Covered? Those are really the basic books for any agency. And I come back to that time and time again over the years, because it's just ideal for you. Once again, I recommend to people to get the Breakthrough Insurance Agency for every person in your agency. I'm not kidding you. You'll understand why. Just go to Amazon and get it. And it's very, very inexpensive, and it's very much worth the trip. And poor old Bart, he's had a tough time. You can see his home there in Malibu, California. That's not too tough, Bart. That's a long way from that being a fireman downtown Los Angeles somewhere.
Oh my gosh, George, it's like a world away. Let me tell you.
I know it is, and I'm glad we're going to do business. Well, I thank you for this. I just want to go back to this basic thing, because it just seems to be something that people need, and I will once again mention the fact that pretty soon we'll have out the Look and Listen program, which is going to be the basic coverages, and they're not long presentations, but it's going to be video type like this with Bart, and each one of them is going to be 4 or 5 minutes or something for your website, and that's a really good thing. So Bart, just stay in there, will you? Keep doing what you're doing, man. You're helping the industry, and you're helping yourself, and you're helping me.
Well, George, George, you're doing exactly the same thing. There's not a week that goes by that I don't listen to the interviews that you have, your Monday morning broadcast, and I just learn something new every single week. So, thank you.
So do I. That's one of the things I like about it. And for the rest of you all, I'll see you again next Monday morning.